Yo, how are you guys doing tonight? I've got more reviews. Six reviews. Six more reviews. I did 3 and 6 to go. And I'm talking about the Eurocine Collection Volume 1, which I love that I own. This is what it looks like. This is what it is. 6 movies. Lots of fun. I watched 4 yesterday. Oh my god. There's a commentary track on one of them, and there are trailers on each disc. It's a lot of fun. So I'm going to review all these movies you see right here, right now. Okay, first up is Angel of Death. I have noticed online that people get animated about just Franco movies. Some people like what I consider to be his awful movies just because he made them. And there are plenty of podcasts and fanfare surrounding him. Then some people will refuse to watch anything by him because the prolific filmmaker has made plenty of duds. But I'd like to stay open-minded when going into one of his movies. They are often pleasant surprises. Angel of Death focuses on a neo-Nazi movement in South America in the 1980s. They have a little military emerging there, so it needs to be infiltrated and destroyed at all costs to avoid World War III. You don't get better contemporary real-life villains than the Nazis. This movie has moments of joy and is overall a solid yet unremarkable package. It's like just above the mid-tier for a Just Franco movie. There are sexy scenes, violent scenes, boring scenes. This is a cool actress you might recognize if you're a genre movie fan. You should really likely already know what you are getting into if you're about to watch this movie. If you're just hearing about this for the first time, I can suggest a bunch of other movies to watch before this one. It will adjust your expectations as well as your satisfaction. But personally, I like this one. And I do. And now, I'm just going to do it like this. We had Downtown Heat. Actually, no. It's better to see the poster slightly bigger. Until I heard of Downtown Heat, I had no idea Jess Franco was making movies into the 90s. I must have assumed that he had died sometime in the late 80s since the man was making stuff in the 50s. This movie is like an unsexy Andy Sedaris movie, which is kind of neat. It has lousy action, but some attitude and vibe that is distinctly 90s, therefore changing the equation for how I interpret Jess Franco movies. I think of him as someone who started in the 50s, but like Stanley Kubrick, really got going in the 60s. The 70s was another good time for Jess Franco. Then he managed to hold on in the 80s. The actress, locations, and attitude here are what's going on. Jess Franco must have been phoning it in by 1994, because there's a certain inspired lack of inspiration that is present in the scenes. That's a nice way of keeping the auteur's name away from the territory of sullying his name, without giving it the high praise which I have never heard anyone give this movie, but if you're out there, get at me. If only Jess Franco had died while making this movie, and Andy Sedaris had come in to save the day. I guarantee, good or bad, this movie would have been far more interesting if that was the case, but I still have a bit of a soft spot for this one. Alright, 4 more reviews. Night of the Eagles. This should be interesting. Every now and then, Jess Franco would work with Christopher Lee. It's funny to see him play a Nazi in Night of the Eagles, but it's probably even funnier that Mark Hamill plays one here, in a movie that is a bit of a dullard. It deals with Christopher Lee being disgusted by his daughter mostly. There's not much Nazi action, just Nazi costumes. This movie is still fine. It just is total mid-tier Jess Franco affair, in my opinion. There's not much to hate about it if you can stand Jess Franco. But Mark Hamill looks asleep, and Christopher Lee has a British accent, which means I cannot take him seriously as any sort of Nazi brass. Most Jess Franco movies are in the mid-tier, in my opinion. So within the mid-tier, one needs to understand that there is a low mid, mid-mid, and high mid. This movie is mid-mid, but it is a fine one due to the celebrity factor. If this movie did not have Mark Hamill and Christopher Lee to look at, perhaps it would be low mid, but the fact that it does make it a fine mid-mid-tier Jess Franco snooze fest. There's a time and place for this cinema. Watching on a Sunday morning with coffee is completely suitable. If you're looking for some just Franco sleaze, though, for your Saturday night, this is not the one. This ain't the one. Oh yeah, now we're getting into masterpiece territory. Sybil Danny could do no wrong in 1984. One of my first radio interviews was with her, so it was a real treat to get to see this movie of hers, Panther Squad. People constantly post about it on Facebook, and they did not disappoint. As Chris Alexander and Sybil Danny say in the audio commentary, The film was like a European version of Charlie's Angels. They really do have a nice conversation on that audio commentary that complements the experience. This is the first movie I picked out of the Eurocine Collection Volume 1 box set, which was kindly sent to me, and it was a total win. On top of the fun movie and audio commentary track, the trailers were fun to watch as well. The transfer looks solid. Sybil's great in this. She would go on in 1985 to act in my favorite Andy Sedaris movie, Malibu Express, as well as be a part of the legendary Halloween 2, Your Sister is a Werewolf. Your Sister is a Werewolf. Panther Squad has the camp of Halloween 2 and the sexiness of Malibu Express. If that sounds good to you, it's all there to be consumed in this fun Blu-ray set, or on the individual Blu-ray. I also enjoyed Jack Taylor as the boss figure. He was a fun, bumbling part of the horror masterpiece of sorts, Pieces, and he is good in this all-around great, sexy 80s action movie. Yeah, man. Alright, we got two more. And only one more Jess Franco. And it's another mid-mid. Jess Franco's 80s political action movie Countdown to Esmeralda Bay has similar vibes to the news at the time, with Nicaragua and El Salvador fighting proxy wars with America. Getting Jess's statement movie happened. Not that it was needed or unwelcome, it's just not particularly left-leaning or right-leaning. It looks at the left-wing resistance as daunting, perhaps noble, but casts Robert Forster, a great actor, and a white guy as a native. George Kennedy is compelling, native to that country, whatever it was. Somewhere in Central America, I don't remember. George Kennedy is compelling with his material, as he usually is. Here he plays an American arms dealer who gets in over his head dealing with the left-wing guerrillas. He is an actor who takes stinky roles and always makes them watchable. Robert Forster does to an extent as well. He has many great roles, but he is no Al Pacino with a Central American accent. It's quite lame to see and hear him do that. He plays his character as thinly as it is written. I love that one could hypothetically double bill this movie with Oliver Stone's Salvador, or even triple bill it with the Tom Cruise vehicle American Made. This movie lacks the substance those two have, no doubt. But it's like a good warm-up to get there if you're unfamiliar with these sort of stories. It is a step above the Chuck Norris film Invasion USA. It is high-level, mid-tier Jess Franco movie, mostly because of George Kennedy. I don't know about that. I'm gonna keep it at 3.5. In fact, I'm gonna edit that later. All right, Maniac Killer. Look at that great poster. Coming from the very sleazy director Andrea Bianchi is Mania or Maniac Killer. Certainly, it is a movie that lives up to the reputation of Bianchi. It has sexy evil experiments, nudity, and violence. Bianchi's film Burial Ground has lots of sex and violence. It was going to be a merger between porno and the supernatural, in this case, zombies, but the idea, while fun, would lead to complete oversaturation. Fans of Italian sleaze like that about his work, as do I. This particular film is quite gruesome, but it still feels harmless. It is so over the top that one's senses check out at a certain point, and it takes on a comic book-like quality. We get so much ill intent, madness, sexuality, and violence that it all just feels like a good time. It's less afraid of an idea for an outsider if they just keep this idea in mind. Strip Nude for Your Killer is another Bianchi movie. The title promises something sleazy, but it is a playful sort of giallo. It never really feels horrid. Bianchi is like someone who seems like he caters to the edgelords, and he pretty much does. I can't see any social value in his cinema, but that doesn't mean you can't argue that the ride is a bit of a release. The over-the-top sleaziness transcends logic and brings us to a sexy nirvana, if only for the duration of the film. So there are my reviews of the Eurocine Collection Volume 1, starting with Angel of Death, and we went to Downtown Heat, Night of the Eagles, Panther Squad, Countdown to Esmeralda Bay, and then finally Maniac or Mania Killer. On the Blu-ray it says Mania Killer. Anywho, I had fun doing a little double stream with you guys this evening. Talking about some local USA movies, talking about some full moon movies. But that's it for me. I'm going to just kick back and relax for the rest of the night. So take care, guys. Have a good one.